My name is Ethan Miles. I'm 39 years old, a husband, a father of two, and for as long as I can remember, I've considered myself an ordinary Christian man. I went to church, prayed before meals, worked hard to provide, and tried to stay grateful for what I had. But what I didn't realize was that my ordinary life was slowly wearing me down from the inside out. Every morning began the same way. Before I said a single word to God, I reached for the coffee maker. That first sip felt like life itself, warm, sharp, necessary. I told myself it helped me function, helped me focus, helped me do more for the Lord. 1 cup turned into 3, then 5. It wasn't long before I needed it just to feel normal. By midday, I'd reach for a soda to get through the slump, a Coke, sometimes a Mountain Dew. The fizz, the sugar, the rush, it felt like fuel for my deadlines. And when that didn't work, I grabbed an energy drink from the breakroom fridge, one of those metallic cans promising power and focus. I believed them. I always did. Weekends weren't any better. That's when I told myself I deserved a break. A cold beer by the TV, a glass of whiskey on the porch, it felt harmless, like part of being an adult. And when guilt crept in, I'd silence it by reaching for something healthy. A bottle of expensive green juice or a protein shake, labeled organic, clean, pure. I told myself that balanced everything out. But my body disagreed. My chest tightened more often. My sleep grew shorter. My heart raced even when I was still. I told my wife it was stress, but deep down, I knew better. My energy came from cans, my peace from cups, my comfort from bottles. Still, I prayed every night. I sang in church. I lifted my hands and thanked God for my health, never realizing how I was draining it day by day. I thought I was living right. I thought I was strong. I thought I was free. But I didn't know I was poisoning myself drop by drop. It was a Tuesday night. My office was empty, quiet except for the hum of the air conditioner and the soft buzz of my computer. I was behind on a project again, running on caffeine and adrenaline. The empty cans lined up beside my keyboard looked like trophies of productivity. My eyes burned. My hands trembled. I told myself I just needed to finish one last email. I took another gulp from the half-empty energy drink beside me, the taste metallic and sweet. Then it hit. A crushing pain bloomed in my chest, sharp, deep, unrelenting. My breath came in short bursts. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the desk, but my arms felt weak, rubbery, useless. I heard the faint sound of my own heartbeat pounding in my ears, growing faster, louder, until it stopped. The world slowed. The light above me flickered once, then stretched into a white blur. I felt weightless, suspended between seconds. The phone rang somewhere in the distance. It was my wife, I think, but I couldn't answer. My hand wouldn't move. The floor rose up to meet me, and everything went still. Then silence. Not the kind that comes with peace, but something deeper, complete stillness. No pain. No sound. No heartbeat. I opened my eyes, but I wasn't lying on the floor anymore. I was standing. Watching. My body was below me, lifeless, my skin pale under the harsh fluorescent light. The crushed can lay beside my hand, its label reflecting the glow above. Strangely, I felt calm. No fear. No panic. The racing thoughts that had followed me for years were gone. For the first time in decades, my mind was silent. My heart, though still, felt weightless. Then came the pull, a force soft yet undeniable, drawing me upward. The walls blurred, the light brightened, and everything familiar began to fade. I knew I had died. But my real journey had just begun. The pull grew stronger, and the light around me thickened like mist, soft, golden, alive. It wasn't blinding, it was inviting. I felt myself moving, though not with steps. It was as if I was being carried, drawn through a tunnel of swirling brightness that pulsed with warmth and rhythm, like a living heartbeat. The further I went, the lighter I became. The weight of exhaustion, fear, even memory began to fall away. Every sound of the world, traffic, phones, voices, faded until there was only silence. But it wasn't empty. It was holy. I could feel peace. Not the kind I used to chase through caffeine or alcohol or fleeting comfort. This was deeper, alive, surrounding me, filling me. Every part of me that had once trembled now rested completely. At the end of that tunnel, a glow began to form, brighter than any sun, yet it didn't hurt to look at. It wasn't just light, it was love made visible. And then I knew. Before I even saw his face, before a single word was spoken, my soul recognized him. Jesus. It wasn't like meeting a stranger. It was like remembering someone I had always known but forgotten for too long. His presence was overwhelming, terrifying in its purity, yet tender enough to make me weep. Every hidden part of my life stood uncovered before him. Every habit I had justified, every small compromise I had ignored, it all surfaced in his light like stains I never noticed before. I didn't hear his voice with my ears. I felt it in my soul, pure truth flowing through me, cutting and healing at once. My child, the words formed within me, I will show you 5 things hidden in plain sight, things my people believe are harmless, yet they are slowly destroying them. Not their bodies alone, but their spirits. His gaze pierced through me, not in anger, but in heartbreak. You will see what I see. And when you return, you must tell them. The light around him swirled, and suddenly the glow beneath our feet opened like a window to the world below. I felt myself falling gently, like a feather descending from heaven, into the first vision. I found myself standing in a place so familiar it made my chest ache, a kitchen. Morning light streamed through the windows, children laughed around a breakfast table, and a mother poured cereal into bowls. Everything looked normal, comforting, peaceful, until my eyes settled on the center of the table. There it was, a red can, glistening with cold sweat. Beside it, a blue one. The hiss of carbonation filled the air as a hand popped one open. I froze. I knew that sound. I'd heard it all my life. At first, it seemed harmless, just a soda, a part of ordinary life. But as I watched, something stirred beneath the surface. The moment the father took a sip, I saw faint shadows curling around his chest, wrapping lightly like vines. When the child drank, the same threads spread across her tiny heart, faint but growing darker with every swallow. Jesus stood beside me, his presence steady and solemn. His voice entered me again, not through sound, but through truth that pierced my spirit. My children drink this for sweetness, he said, but it is not true sweetness. It is a counterfeit. Their tongues are satisfied, but their souls grow numb. The kitchen scene widened. I saw living rooms, classrooms, picnic tables, millions of people raising cans, laughing, sipping, never questioning. In their smiles I saw innocence, but in their spirits I saw hunger that was never fed. With every gulp, the shadow vines tightened, feeding on the emptiness beneath their joy. Jesus' grief washed over me like a tide. They call it refreshment, yet it drains them. They drink what the world offers and reject the living water I freely give. Their thirst remains because they do not come to me. The light shifted, and I saw what my natural eyes had never seen: rotting teeth, inflamed stomachs, hearts straining under the load of sugar. But even deeper, I saw dullness, souls asleep, their spiritual senses numbed drop by drop. I remembered every Coke, every Pepsi, every can I'd opened without thought. I remembered handing one to my son on a summer afternoon, smiling as he gulped it down. The shame struck hard. Tears filled my eyes. Lord, I whispered, I didn't know. You didn't ask, he answered gently. Few of my children do. They believe small things cannot defile what I have made holy. But sin often hides in what seems harmless. I watched as families raised their glasses and toasts, as children ran with soda bottles in their hands, their laughter echoing. But in the spirit, I saw something chilling, tiny chains forming, linking one generation to the next. Tell them, Jesus said, his voice trembling with sorrow. Tell them that sweetness not born of me will always leave bitterness behind. The scene began to fade, and my tears followed it. The kitchen dissolved into light once more, and I felt myself being lifted, weightless again, toward the next revelation. The light shifted again. When it cleared, I stood in a world that hummed with exhaustion. The smell of burnt coffee and metal filled the air. I was inside a vast office, fluorescent lights flickering above rows of cubicles. Computer screens glowed against tired faces. Everywhere I looked, there were cans, silver, black, and green. Red Bull. Monster. 5-Hour Energy. The names themselves sounded like promises, like strength in a bottle. But what I saw went far deeper than caffeine and sugar. The workers moved like machines, their fingers hammering keyboards, eyes glazed from lack of rest. I saw college students hunched over books, truck drivers gripping steering wheels on endless highways, soldiers training through the night. All of them pushing past their limits, fueled not by prayer or peace, but by chemicals. Each sip brought a momentary spark, bright, furious, false. Their hearts pounded so violently I could almost hear them, like drums of desperation. Yet around them, faint shadows began to shimmer, black threads wrapping tighter around their chests, wrists, and necks with every gulp. Jesus stood beside me again, his presence calm but heavy. His voice moved through me, sorrowful and steady. My child, they seek strength, but not from me. They trade my rest for artificial fire. They fill their temples with what burns them from within and call it productivity. The vision deepened. I could see the inside of their bodies, their hearts glowing red, fluttering wildly like trapped birds. Every beat screamed for mercy, but none came. And with every swallow, another chain formed link by link until the shadows held them upright like puppets. I remembered my own nights. Late deadlines. The hum of the office. The empty silence of a home waiting for me. And the cold can sweating in my hand, the same one I used to justify staying awake. I had called it ambition. But in truth, it was worship of speed, of success, of my own strength. Jesus' words echoed like thunder in my spirit. I am the giver of strength. I am the rest for the weary. But my children bow to these cans, searching for life where there is only death. They have forgotten that stillness is sacred. The workers began to fade into the background. Their eyes glowed faintly, drained of light, their souls tethered to the engines of exhaustion. I fell to my knees, trembling. Lord, I thought I was being responsible. I thought I was doing what I had to. He looked at me with a sorrow too deep to measure. Responsibility without me is slavery. And the world has learned to love its chains. The office dissolved into darkness, leaving behind the faint hum of machines and the echo of millions of racing hearts that no longer knew how to rest. When the light returned, the air smelled different, sweet, heavy, and dangerous. I was standing outside a bar, its neon signs bleeding color into the night. Budweiser. Heineken. Jack Daniels. The glow flickered like fire, luring people inside. Laughter spilled through the doors, too loud, too forced. I stepped in and found myself surrounded by music, dancing, clinking glasses, and bodies swaying under dim lights. It looked like joy, but something about it felt wrong. The laughter was hollow, and the smiles didn't reach their eyes. A woman toasted with her friends, her face flushed, her laughter too sharp. A man leaned on the counter, glass in hand, drowning memories that wouldn't fade. In one corner, a couple argued, voices sharp as shattered glass. And around them all, unseen but undeniable, dark shapes lingered, whispering, feeding, delighting in the chaos. Jesus' presence filled the room beside me. The light from him made the shadows recoil, yet they didn't flee. They clung tighter to their hosts, hissing softly, unseen by human eyes. Do you see? He said. Wine is a mocker, strong drink is raging. My children invite torment and call it pleasure. They drink to forget, but the enemy remembers every drop. I saw what he meant. The laughter turned to tears, the hugs to fights, the smiles to numbness. Behind every sip, there was a chain thick, rusted, unbreakable. The more they drank, the heavier it became. Families flashed before my eyes, broken tables, silent dinners, children crying behind closed doors. Generations repeating the same story, unaware they were still acting from an old curse. And then I saw my own reflection, my father, his trembling hands, the smell of whiskey that haunted my childhood. The nights I pretended to sleep while my parents argued. I had sworn I'd never touch the stuff, yet here I was years later, laughing with a glass in my hand, claiming it was harmless. Tears stung my eyes. Lord, I didn't know. Jesus looked at me, grief and love intertwining in his gaze. They say it's only one drink. But one drink opens the door, and the enemy waits on the other side. My spirit cannot dwell where that door remains open. The bar darkened. The music slowed. I could now see them clearly, spirits like leeches, feeding on despair, dancing around those who thought they were free. They clinked their glasses too, mocking the songs of the lost. I fell to my knees again, covering my face. The laughter echoed into silence. "Tell them," Jesus said softly. "Tell them joy was never meant to come from a bottle." And just like that, the scene began to fade, the lights dimming, the laughter vanishing, until there was nothing left but his sorrow and the faint echo of chains dragging across the floor. The light dimmed, and when it returned, I was standing in a place that felt almost too familiar. Warm lights glowed from hanging lamps, soft music drifted through the air, and the scent of roasted beans filled the room. A line stretched across the counter, men and women in suits, students with backpacks, baristas calling out orders in a rhythm that felt rehearsed. I looked around and recognized the logo immediately, the green siren, twin-tailed, smiling from every cup. Starbucks. At first, it made me smile. This was my comfort place, the ritual that began every morning. I had spent years here, sipping from paper cups while scrolling through emails, planning my day, convincing myself I was getting ready to serve God. But as I looked closer, something inside me shifted. The logo on the wall began to pulse slowly at first, then with a strange rhythm, like it was breathing. The siren's eyes glinted, alive and ancient, her smile widening into something almost knowing. The green hue deepened, spreading across the room like fog. People clutched their cups like lifelines, their faces calm but empty. Some scrolled through devotionals on their phones, others whispered prayers before taking their first sip, but I could see it now. Threads of darkness unfurled from each cup, weaving upward into their hearts. Jesus' presence pressed against me, heavy, holy, grieving. His words filled my spirit. They say they need it to start their day. They reach for it before they reach for me. They bow their mornings to another, and they do not see. Addiction wrapped in routine is still idolatry. The words cut deep. My chest tightened as I remembered my own mornings, how often I had whispered, "Not now, Lord, just let me have my coffee first." I had traded communion for caffeine, presence for productivity. The scene shifted. I saw thousands of believers rising from their beds, sleep still in their eyes, their first act of the day not worship but brewing. The aroma filled the air like incense offered to a false god. I saw dollar bills handed over like offerings, time sacrificed, loyalty pledged. Behind the barista counter, the logo pulsed brighter. From its glow rose a figure, beautiful, elegant, seductive. The ancient siren from old myths, whispering comfort and energy, her voice dripping with charm. Around her, souls leaned closer, mistaking her allure for warmth. Tears stung my eyes. "Lord, forgive me," I whispered. "I didn't know." His light pulsed beside me, calm but fierce. "You did not ask." Many of my children cannot pray until they have their cup, yet I am the living water. What they crave is not caffeine, it is me. The coffee shop dimmed. The siren's smile faded. The hum of conversation turned hollow. And once again, I wept because I saw how easily devotion can hide in habit. The world around me shifted once more, this time into a scene that looked bright, modern, and clean. A gym. Mirrors lined the walls, upbeat music pulsed in the background, and the smell of lemon and mint filled the air. People in sleek sportswear moved with focus, lifting weights, running on treadmills, taking selfies that captured their discipline. In their hands, I saw bottles of vibrant liquids, neon green, purple, golden. Some labeled kombucha cleanse, detox water, matcha energy shot. Others carried protein shakers or smoothies thick with powders. Each label bore words like pure, cleanse, restore, rejuvenate. At first glance, it looked admirable, healthy living, self-care, stewardship of the body. But when Jesus appeared beside me, his gaze was sorrowful, not proud. "Do you see?" His voice moved through me like a whisper of thunder. They believe they are purifying themselves, yet their hearts remain untouched. They trust in mixtures and branding, in nature and science, but they do not trust me. They have traded my spirit for self-sufficiency. I looked closer, and then I saw it. As each person drank, thin, glass-like chains formed between their bottles and their hearts. They were clear, almost invisible, but strong. Every sip made the chains shimmer brighter, binding them to the illusion of control. I noticed Bible apps open on a few phones resting beside their cups. One woman listened to worship music while filming her morning wellness vlog. Another quoted scripture between sips of her detox shake. Yet in the spirit, I saw their hearts anxious, restless, desperate to be seen as perfect. Jesus' presence surrounded me again. "These are the most dangerous," he said softly, "because they appear holy. The world calls it wellness, but I see worship of image, of perfection, of self." I felt my throat tighten. "But, Lord," I said, "isn't it good to take care of our bodies?" He turned to me, his light piercing. "Yes, but not apart from me. Health becomes pride when it replaces humility. Purity becomes deception when it is sought without my spirit." They cleanse the cup on the outside, but inside it remains unwashed. The scene shifted again, slow motion, haunting. I saw millions raising their bottles high under fluorescent gym lights like chalices, declaring independence from sickness, aging, and fatigue. Their words said strength, but their souls whispered fear. And then I saw myself standing there years ago with a green smoothie in my hand, proud of my discipline, blind to my pride. I thought I was honoring the temple, but I was worshiping control. "Lord," I whispered, trembling, "even what seems righteous can become sin." His voice broke through the silence, gentle, yet unyielding. "Anything that takes my place, no matter how pure it appears, will poison the soul." The lights of the gym flickered. The mirrors rippled like water. And in their reflection, I no longer saw health, I saw captivity disguised as virtue. Then the world dissolved once more into light. The 5 visions were complete. And my heart knew what was coming next. When the last vision faded, I found myself once more standing in the presence of Jesus. The light around him pulsed like a living heartbeat, warm, alive, and impossibly pure. I fell to my knees, unable to speak. The weight of what I'd seen pressed on me, the laughter of families unaware they were enslaved, the believers praying with cups in their hands, the quiet chains that no one could see. I expected anger. But there was none. Only sorrow. A sorrow so deep it felt like the world itself could drown in it. His voice entered me, not to condemn, but to awaken. "My child," he said, "this is not about drinks. It is about allegiance. What you love most reveals whom you serve." Many say, "I can't live without it," but they are not speaking of me. Their habits have become their masters. Their hearts are divided between my spirit and the world's comfort. Each word pierced deeper than any blade. I saw myself reflected in his light, every excuse, every justification, every "it's just one cup" moment laid bare. He stepped closer, and his light wrapped around me. It didn't burn, it healed. "I am not here to shame you," he said softly. "I am here to free you. What I showed you was never to crush your heart, but to awaken it. Go, and tell my children that the smallest chains still bind. Tell them their bodies are not their own, they are my dwelling place. Tell them I long to be their first desire again." His words echoed like thunder across eternity. Then the light began to pull away, and I felt myself being drawn backward, falling through warmth into cold. "You must warn them," he said one last time. "Before it's too late." The light vanished. And suddenly, pain. It was sharp, searing, real. A pressure in my chest, hands pressing down, voices shouting my name. "Stay with us. We've got him back." My eyes flew open to a blinding ceiling light. I was in a hospital, machines beeping, nurses rushing, my wife clutching my hand with tears streaming down her face. For a moment, I didn't know where I was. All I could feel was the absence of his presence, the silence after heaven's song. I wept. Not because I was alive, but because I had left the most real place I had ever known. I had stood before Jesus, and he had shown me the truth hidden in plain sight. Days later, when I could speak, I told my family everything. Every vision. Every word. Every tear that fell from his eyes. They listened in silence, trembling. From that day on, I made a vow. No more coffee before prayer. No more soda at dinner. No more cans of artificial strength, no alcohol, no health drinks disguised as devotion. I live differently now, not out of fear, but out of love. My mornings belong to Him. My strength comes from His Spirit. My peace from His presence alone. I share my story wherever I can, not to shame, but to awaken. Because what I saw wasn't just about drinks, it was about the quiet ways we let comfort replace Christ. My mission now is simple: to warn my brothers and sisters before it's too late. I don't know what chains hold you, but I know how they feel: soft, ordinary, invisible. The kind you don't notice until heaven shines its light on them. Holiness doesn't happen by accident. Your body is His temple. And every choice you make is either cleansing it or defiling it. Ask yourself, what do I reach for before I reach for Him? What small habit whispers, I can't live without this? Because if it's not Jesus, it's an idol. He's calling His people to wake up, to purify not just their hearts, but their habits. And I'll leave you with the question that still echoes through my soul. Which drink is your chain?